Hello all, this is Shelley McHenry. I am the Technology Innovation Coach at Southampton High School in Cortland, Virginia. And this video is going to walk you through the different tools and resources available to you in Schoology. Primarily, this is formatted as a tour of your Schoology page, or in this case, my page. So if you're not using the app, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and log in. Please make sure when you're logging in, you're using that Southampton ID. For most of us, it will be the complete email. And if you don't know your password, you're going to click right here, forgot your password, and Schoology will walk you through setting it for the first time. You do want to make sure you use that Southampton email address, though, because your Schoology is directly linked to your PowerSchool. So even if you have never signed into Schoology, your classes are here waiting for you. All of your students are enrolled in these classes. So if you have used other types of learning management systems, such as Google Classroom or ClassDojo, that's probably something you needed to set up. But in this case, we don't. It's synced with PowerSchool, so that work is done for you. So what we're going to do first is work across this blue permanent toolbar at the top. The S in the circle is our home button. So at any point that we've opened a few too many links and we want to come back home, we're just going to click our heel 3 times right here. And it'll bring me back to this instructional home page because this is my teacher page. First, we have courses. This is going to sync directly with whatever PowerSchool has you as current classes for which you instruct. In the upper right-hand corner, however, you'll see where it says My Courses. And at first, you're going to see the courses you're currently instructing, but then you can choose to visit archived courses. As a division, we've been using Schoology for 3 years. So again, even if you have never logged in, you're going to have this archive of 3 years worth of classes that you can visit. And you might decide to do that for a couple of different reasons. To begin with, it gives you a virtual playground. So if you don't want to jump right into the current classes that your students or parents will see, you can just pull up one of your older classes and practice there, adding different materials or assessments, just visually what it'll look like. It's a virtual playground for you. So again, we got here by going courses and then My Courses in the corner and then the archived list. Here's the other reason it becomes really important, my absolute favorite feature of Schoology. This is a class I taught last semester, English 12 Academic. It's very much like the classes I'm teaching this semester. So once you build a course in Schoology, any materials you have, you can then revisit and borrow from yourself. So if you take a look at this vocabulary unit, it's pretty robust. You know, it's 10 units of terms and exercises and quizzes, and it goes on and on for 90 days. It was a lot of work. But because I've already built those materials once, I can choose to visit that former class and copy it over to my current classes. So that full unit in just a couple of clicks, I can send over and have waiting for my students now. And when you do that, you can choose whether you want to make it visible or invisible to your students. So here where it says unpublished means my students wouldn't be able to see it. I simply click to publish and then they can. So that's an option, you know, as you're copying over units you might want to consider. You also can go in individually and copy over individual assignments, but I find it's easier just to organize by folders in units, and then with a couple of clicks, copy over the entire unit. So we could do it with these individual resources too, but that would be a lot of work versus just organize it in a folder and then copy the whole folder over. So again, we visited that area by going on the permanent toolbar to courses, clicking on My Courses, and then the archived courses. So whether you want to use it as a virtual playground or whether you actually want to go back and just take your own materials over to the current semester, it's a really useful tool. Moving down the toolbar, next we have groups. And there's 3 types of groups that you might find here. First, there's groups that you'll be invited to. So at the high school, we have a group for our instructional staff. We have a library group of resources, and we have a shared group with teachers and students for school-wide announcements. I also strongly suggest that you create your own groups. So whether it's across your grade content or it's, the level that you teach, it's a place to virtually collaborate, whether it's with other teachers in your own school or across multiple schools. And it's a way for you to share resources because anyone that's in that group with you can also copy to course any materials posted within that group. So it's a really convenient and organized way to virtually collaborate. If you're a coach or sponsor a club, making a Schoology group is a great way to have an organized space to virtually meet those students and give them information. And as you become more used to the Schoology, you're going to want to step out into the Schoology community and maybe join some larger groups to learn more about whether it's your content area, your grade level, or just blended learning in general and seeing how other people are using Schoology to meet the objectives of their course. Next, we have resources. Now, I'll be honest that I really don't use this tool, but this is a place that you can almost think of as a virtual filing cabinet. So any materials that you make for your course, you can choose to send them to your resources. So from here, you can copy it into your classes. Personally, I just visit the class from the previous semesters and copy it from there. So this is another way to do the same thing. This does, however, give you the option if you wanted to share it with other people, it would have to come from within a group or within your resources tab. You can't share across teachers from within the classroom. Continuing to move across the toolbar, we next have this magnifying glass, which is exactly what we expect it to be. You type in a few keywords and it's going to send you in the direction of finding whatever it is you're searching, whether it's a person, an assignment, or it might be just something you read on a Schoology post or blog. It'll help you find it. These 4 little squares here will take you to the Schoology App Center. And you'll have some different options of apps that you might want to add to your classroom. You do not have to have the app installed to use these features. For example, Quizlet's a very popular app, but I regularly use Quizlets with my students. I just post the links instead. But there are various different resources here that you might want to spend a few minutes taking a look at as you're building your Schoology course. And then you would just click on it to install it to your class, and it will be available to all your students. I do want to call your attention to one specifically, which is Schoology Conferences. This will be what we'll be using for our virtual classes. It works exactly like Zoom in the way that it's formatted, that you're going to be able to share your screen, open your webcam, an interactive whiteboard. Your students will have a chat window. The big difference with Schoology Conferences is any student not PowerSchool enrolled in that class cannot enter. So it has a much higher security threshold than some of the other options out there, and thus prevents some of the things happening in virtual classrooms across the country that we just want to have more control over in our virtual classroom. So do make sure to visit your Apple Store or your App Store and download that Conferences app before you schedule your first virtual class. Coming back to the toolbar, we next have what looks like a calendar, which is convenient because that's exactly what it is. This is a shared calendar between you and your students. So let's go back to a busier month. This is going to be for your students. It'll be all 4 of their classes or 6, however many they may have. For the teacher, is going to be all of your classes too on this one combined calendar. There is a place I'll show you later where you'll have a course-specific calendar, but this one in your toolbar is for all of your courses, or if you're a student, for all the courses they are rolled into. And the only way an assignment will show on a calendar is if you have a specified due date and time. So in the next tutorial video, we're going to look at how to build assignments. And it's something you're going to want to keep in mind. Even if you're going to be flexible with your due dates, which of course we need to be right now, you still want to put a date and time to help that student pace themselves, but also so it shows up on their calendar what they should be doing on Monday versus Tuesday versus Wednesday to really pace out how you're visualizing the work being done that week. All right, next we have what looks like a little envelope, and this is a way for you to send a private message to your student or the student to send a private message to you. You also can message between teachers, as you see is happening with mine. Parent app also gives them the option to send a private message to you, and that'll be separate from the student account. So the student can't see the parent's messages and the parent can't see the student messages. Those are two different accounts. But if you have any private messages sent to you, you'll have a little bubble up here, like an unopened text on your phone. And it's a great way to curate conversations between you and parents. At this time where we're having to establish and follow documentation, it keeps all of those messages and it organizes it by the students that you're talking to. So it's a good place to document that continued communication and how we're assisting our students. Lastly, we have this little bell, which is notifications. Anytime a student has a meaningful interaction with your page, meaning not that they just visited it, but they completed an assignment, posted a discussion response, took a quiz, you'll get alerts just showing there's activity on your page. So that is our permanent toolbar. Next, let's look at the drop down over here beside your name to visit a few places. The first one we're going to look at is your profile. And as you're first working with Schoology, I suggest this is your first stop. Go ahead and build that virtual profile of yourself. And again, we found it over here, this drop down caret. Click on your profile, because this is the way you're going to introduce yourself as this new virtual teacher to your students and to your parents. And we don't want that first message to be under construction. So you can add a page, you can choose which biographical information you want to include. This is also a good place to launch yourself from. Just when you log on to Schoology, and if you go to this page, here are your classes, here are your groups. It's a kind of holistic view of your Schoology. So again, profile, spend some time building it, including your contact information. Connections are ways to kind of build your Schoology profile, in that if you are connected with someone, let me go back and show you where that's going to be in effect. So you have this recent activity feed that's part of your instructional homepage, and anyone that you are connected with, they will show up here with anything they've posted to their classes or any action they've taken on Schoology. So it can become a very cumbersome feed if the groups you're in are very active, or if the connections you make are very active. So you just might want to think about that. That's really the only difference that your Schoology life will have with connections, because you can message anyone whether or not you're connected to them, but being in your connection will add them to that main feed. The other place we want to visit in this area is settings. Everyone does have a school you're connected to. All those school pages are under construction. You'll want to visit settings for a couple of reasons, and most notably this. You have the ability to go in and change how your name is displayed, whether you want your first name, first initial, alternate name, or just change it to Mrs. or Mr. But you will want to visit notifications, because the default is that they're all turned on, which means every single time a student turns in any assignment, takes any assessment, does anything in any of your courses, you're going to get an email. and possibly a text if that feature is turned on. It is cumbersome, and it's your choice what notifications you want. You'll see I decided to turn all of mine off, except I do keep on to receive messages so that when students or other teachers reach out to me with that private message feature, it does come directly to my phone so I can get back to them in a timely manner. Personally, that's all I keep on for notifications, and that's completely going to be up to you. Just realize the default is that they are all on. So you'll want to visit it before your kids get too active. You also can choose to add your cell phone number. There'll be a little block over here the first time you'll visit it where you can get those same alerts, whichever ones you choose, directly to your phone. All right, so that is our permanent toolbar, and that's really all we need here from the drop down. So let's go back home. And for a quick moment, visit this bottom toolbar before we jump into a class. So most important here, just to pull your attention to the support link. The first option is going to give you is to contact myself or contact Mr. Hatch. If you have any Schoology questions, please just reach straight out to me. I'm more than happy to help you. The much easier way to get in contact with me is to visit the private message and just type in my name. Please reach out to Shelly McHenry because that is the account that I am active on. That is the account I am always tuned into, logged into, feeds directly to my phone and watch. The account that you'll find here under support is an administrative account, and so that one's only visited when things need to be changed in a setting or there's a problem. Here is what I wanted to bring your attention to, though. We are a Schoology Enterprise customer, which is like the penthouse of Schoology. And so with that membership, that level of commitment to Schoology, you have them at your fingertips also for not just solving problems, but just general resources. So you can reach out to the Schoology staff via a request message, a live chat, or give them a phone call if you need to be walked through something and there's not someone available to help you right then, or just to get a different perspective. Okay, on my main instructional page, we're going to have reminders, which will show you any assignments that have been submitted but not graded. For myself, I have students submit absolutely everything. So I often have many ungraded assignments, but that's not authentic because I know where else to go and look for them. Do realize though, the student view doesn't say reminders, it says overdue assignments, which brings me back to why it is so important to put deadlines on when an assignment is due. Because when this deadline of upcoming assignments has passed, on the student page, it then goes right to here that says overdue if they've not submitted the work. It also does that on the parent app, so a parent can see when a deadline is passed and the work wasn't completed. So it's really important to put deadlines on your assignments. So let's jump into a class. This is my first block. It is a DC English class, so it's a pretty robust class as far as the level and the amount of work they're doing. But we're going to use this class as an example to walk through the different features that are specific to the class. So take a few moments to change your course picture. Again, we don't want anything that says under construction. We want to look like we're just ready to go in this virtual learning environment. A lot of teachers at the high school have actually changed these pictures to graphics of numbers 1 through 4 according to what block it is, just so when you're looking at it, it's just a quicker visual for you and the students. Under course options, it's not visible unless you choose the drop down. But here, there's 3 different areas that have varied importance. So the first is the ability to view the course as one of your students. So this becomes important when you're just starting this class and your students are so new to Schoology, and sometimes they're going to need you to walk them through where to find an assignment or how to submit. So you'll be able to choose any one of your students and jump in there as that student and look at their screen as they see it to help them find where that assignment is. Also, just as you're new to Schoology and you're building that course for the first time, in my early days, I would often jump over and look at the student view because our view might be a little bit different. For example, this exam is unpublished because the deadline is passed, but I'm going to look at the student view just to make sure what do they see and don't they see. So it's an interesting tool. Here you have the ability to send a message, and it looks a whole lot, that little envelope, just like send a message here. The difference is up here at the toolbar, this is the way I'm going to send a message to an individual student or teacher by typing in their name. Here under course options inside any specific class, if I choose send message, I am sending the same message to all members of the class. So there's lots of ways that we can post announcements to students, but this is a way that whenever they log on to Schoology, before they even click on your class, up here they'll have a little bubble, they have a new message waiting, but it's going to be the same message to every individual member of that class so that when they respond, it's an individual response from each member back to you. It's a really helpful way to kind of touch base with everyone, but to do it in a private way, just to check in on the progress and how things are going, but in an individual way that also, again, curates and archives that communication. So again, that was reached here under course objective. So individual message to a student, individual message to all students. The next option we have is edit info, and this one tab will also take you to these tabs. You're going to find that you're limited in what your edit abilities are because it's so synced with PowerSchool. There are decisions there just made. You do have a couple of areas though. We have some flexibility. You can choose to put in a description of your course. And most of your privacy is going to be preset, so I really don't suggest messing with that too much. There's a little bit of flexibility, but I don't think it's really going to be an area you're going to want to visit and change anything. But these last two are important features. So I am a strong proponent of discussion boards, as you're going to see in some other tutorials. But here's the fear of discussion boards. Schoology does not give you the ability to screen posts before they are made. So we are limited in how much we can control that a student is going to post on that board. But Schoology does give you ownership of anything posted to your page. So if a student was to make a post to a discussion board and then go back and delete it, it would show up here under moderate. So anything that's been deleted off of your page is here. So should you need to address something said inappropriately on a discussion board and that student goes back and deletes it, he can't delete it from this archive of deleted posts from your page. So that could be an important moderation tool. Secondly, the recycle bin, just like on computers in general, anytime you've deleted an assignment, it doesn't go away. It just sits in this recycling bin that should you change your mind, intentionally or by accident, to replace that deleted assignment, we can just visit here, restore it, and add it to another course. So let's click back home and the class we were in. And those were all features right here under course options. View the course as a student, send a message to your entire class individually, or to edit, which includes being able to moderate any information deleted from your page or recover any materials you have deleted. Continuing to move down, and again, this is going to be under each individual course, you have the ability to post updates to your page. Personally, I'm not a fan of updates because students aren't going to see that update unless they click here to look at updates. So I've only done this a couple of times. I prefer to have my message on the actual home page of that course, such as this at the top. And so the way that you achieve an announcement versus an update is very similar. If I post an update, it is going to go to their feed, like we visited a moment ago when we talked about connections. But like I said, that feed can get very cumbersome, so they may or may not catch it here. And I don't want to post something important that they've got to go over here and find. So if I post, I'm going to post a announcement, which I'll do in the same way. The difference is right now, this is an update. If I come down here to this little drop down and click on the bell, this means it's visible to my parents also. If I click here and click on the bell, it then goes to my announcements. So on that home page to my class, as soon as they click on it, they're going to see the announcements. The difference is it doesn't curate it, whereas if I do an update, they'll stay. All right, we're going to discourage our students from visiting gradebook or they won't have grade set up. They'll have gradebook, but that gradebook only reflects assignments that are graded and recorded within Schoology. This is not our primary grading resource right now, so it could be a thwarted view of where their class average is if it doesn't include 100% of your grades. So just make sure your students realize that. This is a good place to look at how you're doing, but remember, not all your grades are in Schoology. Badges is a fun place to visit. It's definitely something extra, but it's kind of like virtual PBIS. So you can choose to add different badges to your course. You know, everyone that tunes in for my virtual lesson this week, I'm going to give a participation badge to. And when that student logs on to Schoology next time, they'll see those badges across that class banner. So it's definitely something extra, but a little bit fun. Attendance, we feel the same about as we do gradebook. This is not where we take attendance. It is not accurately going to reflect attendance in class. We do want to visit two other areas here, though. The first is members. And this will be all students enrolled in your course. And from here, you have a few different things available to you that were not available previously, or that were available elsewhere, excuse me. So we can visit the individual student to send them a private message, which we also did here, or to preview the course as that student, which we also did here. The other reason that members is important is because it gives you this access code. Now, our students are already enrolled. We're not going to give this code to any student to add them to the class, but what if you have a co-teacher or a para or just someone else who needs to come in that class in a teacher's role? In this case, Miss Bay has been added to my class. I can go in, I can make her an admin, and she now has the same privileges to this class that I, as an instructor, do. So think about accommodations and think about, read alouds and co-teaching and small grouping. And, the way that she was able to add herself to the class was, real quick, I'll show you. Go back to courses, my courses, join a course. And you're going to give that other staff member the code number for your course. And when they hit join, they'll pop right into your class. And how you find that code for your class was right here under members. And it's going to give you the code to add anyone to your class. This is also where you'll find the parent access codes. So we did have lots of parents join for Schoology training. It is a great way to partner and show these parents firsthand. These are the assignments your students have. Here's the work they've turned in. Here's the grades they've gotten. Here's the feedback I've given. It allows those parents to have a real bird's eye view of that virtual class experience. So I strongly suggest reaching out to all your parents and giving them this code. It'll open up as an Excel document that lists every student and a code for specific to that student for the parents. And it's one code per student. So as long as any one teacher gives that parent a code, they can check on all 4 or 6 classes of that student. So that was right here under members. And then let's visit analytics. This is going to be your best friend during these days of virtual teaching, because it is a way to look specifically at every student in your class and see when is the last time they logged on to Schoology. So it's spring break week, so it's been a while, but it also shows you when is the last time they've completed an assignment for your class. So as we are trying to document and authenticate this as students actually logging into Schoology and actually doing the class, here's a quick way to visit it and see. And you also can click on any individual student and have a running log of all of their interaction with your class. The work they've done, the work they've not done, when it was submitted, when they last opened it, if they went back to look at their grades on it afterwards. So that is, I think, one of the most powerful tools to us as an instructor in just authenticating that students are tuning in and getting the information and doing the work, and in a very convenient way that we can turn that information over to administration to show, how we're reaching out to our students. And that was, again, right here under the course, and visit analytics, and that'll bring it up. Beneath it, you're going to have any apps that you've added. So again, conferences, very important app. As we're doing these virtual classes, is going to allow you to create a conference, and then it's going to archive it right here in this student's folder that he'll be able to click on the conferences and have a recording of any class that he may or may not have been present for. He doesn't have to sign up to join. There's no codes. It's just built right into that class as any other assignment would be available to him right after it ends. So those are the tools for the individual course. And then over here to the right, specific to this course, reminders, upcoming due dates. Remember, you've got to put a date on an assignment. If it doesn't have a due date, then it doesn't give you a list of assignments that are upcoming. And then lastly, up here at the right, there's a couple of features that we were able to access elsewhere. So this is just a way to click on your 2 different classes. Redundant. We've already figured out a few different ways to do that. And then a real quick place that if you want to turn on notifications, maybe you have a specific assignment that you want to grade them as they're coming in. So this will send you a little alert here each time the assignment comes in. So that is your Schoology page. Jump in there, play around with it, get to know it like any other type of technology. You can rewatch this video a few times, but you are really going to learn more about Schoology as you are reaching in and just practicing it. So the next video I'll post will be specifically related to how to build this course, how to build your different assignments and assessments, and create that content that really identifies who you are as a virtual teacher and what your students' virtual learning experience is going to be.